Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to our lecturer, Professor Dr. Aziz bin Rahman, and to all my fellow friends. We are from Group 4 Software Architecture. Would like to present you our system, which is Phone Specification Services System. Before that, let me introduce to all my team member. The first one is Nur Amar Nazmi bin Ahmad Salihin, Ngeng Yan Chen, Kun Siong Kai, myself, Firas Amira binti Rosni, Ngeh Yu Chi, and the last one is Syafiqah Nabila binti Muhammad Nur Hisham. Now let me introduce you more detail about our system. Our system is mostly like site that will gather all the smartphone information, such as size of device, operating system, release date, and also storage capacity. For build this system, we are using Express.js framework and Node.js and also MongoDB for the database. Express.js is a back-end web application framework for Node.js, while Node.js is open source development platform for executing JavaScript code server-side, and for MongoDB is a database. For objective, before we build this system, we need to study the existing frameworks for us easy to build web services, and we also implement REST web services, Express.js framework, Node.js, and MongoDB in this website. Web services. For architecture and design, we use MongoDB Atlas database. There are a few components for Mango database like ID, database, collection, document, field, JSON, and cursors. For all the components, there are a different function that we can get for this Mango database. Okay. For REST, representational state transfer. REST is a web standard-based architecture and use HTTP protocol. They are consist of client for request and server for response. In simple word, the client will send a request to the server where the server will access to the resources and fetch the corresponding data and return the response back to the client. There are six architectural principles. The first one is uniform interface, stateless, cacheable, client server, client system, and the last one is code on demand. This is not J. This is Node.js. We often use Node.js for building back-end services like APIs, like web apps or mobile apps. Node.js run over Chrome's V8 engine. It is implement single-threaded architecture model. When request sent from client is added into event queue, then will be passed through event loop and handled by a single thread from worker threads. The thread will access to external resources like database or file system to obtain data. This is also called synchronized task. After completing the request, the response is sent back to event loop and eventually back to clients. For design pattern, we use MVC. M is for models, V for view, and C for controller. For model is an object that carries data. It is also retrieve the data from the database. For view, it is present the model's data to user. And the last one is for controller. It is execute the appropriate method to the corresponding event that is triggered by the view. For web service and implementation and consumption, I will pass to my team member to continue the presentation.
Okay, so first is create application. We will be using Spring Analyzer, which means we are using the Spring framework to build the service client side, which we have been built at the project 1. So we will be using that to consume the web service that we have created. The second step is we need to create the database for the web service. So we choose MongoDB Atlas database, which is a cloud database that we can insert all our collection and requirement document. these are the picture that example of using MongoDB. The first one is the cluster, which after we have created the MongoDB, we will be given a cluster that we can store our data at there. The second picture at the right hand side, that is the driver that we will be using to connect our database. And we also have the link in order for us to connect it. And we will use the link at our environment dot folder, that is database underscore URL, and we will put our link at there. Next is we create our API from Express.js server. We will first create the server.js that we will import all our server-side code, which also we will put the database connection using Mongoose, and also the port number 3000, and the router part. For the middle side of the picture is all the router that we will receive the request from the client side, and then we will process it and return the appropriate JSON data. And the third side, the third picture on the right, is the model of our phone details schema, which consists of phone brand, phone name, release date, dimension, operating system, storage, which all the type are string. Next, step 4, we will perform CRUD using Postman. We will try to create, read, update, and delete using the method of, if we want to retrieve, we use the get method. We want to create, we use the post method. We want to update, we use the patch method, and also delete, to use the delete method. And finally, we will run the application. In order to run the whole application, we will first run the Visual Studio part, start the command, and then also run the client side service client, which is the Spring part, and also from there we can see the way that we consume one by one. Okay, next we will perform the demonstration, and that will be presented by our friend Kai.
Okay, first we will see for the server.js. The server.js is used for us to connect to Mongo database from which is at the coordinate line 7 mongo.connect. Yes, and the link of the database is already set in the env file. So this is our database URL. Then we also set the server port as 3000 and the add listen and phone details as our router. Okay. So the phone details.js in the models folder is the model used. I repeat that. The phone details.js in the model folder is the model used for interact with our Mongo database. And for the phone details.js in the route file, this file. And this phone details.js is a controller that we use to CRUD in the Postman application. So if we need to start, we need to go back to the server.js and use the command npm run dev start. Okay, after run the command, it will show the server started and then connected to database. Okay. If we need to start our then we go to the Postman Postman application to test the CRUD. So as we can see, if we want to retrieve the data, we need to insert the localhost 3000 / phone details /. And then we can see that we can retrieve all the data in our database that already set in the Mongo. Then if we need to only get one only sorry, if we only need to get one of the phone details, we need to get the ID and put at the behind of the link. So we can get the phone details for that ID. Then if we need to update no, if we need to create a new phone details in our API, so we choose the post and add the details of the phone in the body part, and the ID will auto generate in the Node.js. So after send the details, it will record the details in our database. Uh, so we can see that the new record is already recorded in our database, and we can retrieve it from database. Then if we need to update, we need to choose the patch and update the details in the body. After we change the details, okay, after we change the detail and send it, so it will also change in our database. You can see the Samsung already become iPhone. Lastly, if we want to delete the phone details, we need to select delete and put the ID of the phone, then send it. So if delete successfully, it will return a message with delete phone details. And so as we can see, the just now the the details already deleted from the database and now retrieve again from it. Okay, if we want to use our API, we need to change the link to our API link, which is localhost 3000 slash phone detail slash, and the back is the ID of the phone. So if we want to show up all the phone, we only need to write down localhost 3000 and slash phone detail, and no need with the ID. Then this is our homepage or our spec review if we want, and this is the brand that we provided to see. After sorry, for example, we can see the Samsung phone that we are already prepared, which is Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra 5G, and we can see that the release date, size of the device, operating system, and the storage capacity. And this is iPhone, also same. So other than that, we will see all the phone, then all the all the phone will display in one page for different brands.
Okay, for the conclusion, we are not is an open source and cross-platform runtime environment for executing JavaScript code outside of browser. We need to remember that Node.js is not a framework and is not a programming language. We often use Node.js for building back-end services like APIs, like web or mobile apps. For Express is a small framework that sits on top of Node.js web server functionality to simplify its APIs and add helpful new features. Express.js is a pre-built Node.js framework that can help you in creating server-side web application faster and smarter. Simplicity, minimalism, flexibility, scalability are some of its characteristics, and since it is made in Node.js itself, it inherited its performance as well.